Hello, I'm going to present very briefly how the algorithm random forest works. Well, we start with a rationale of the term, and we say that the combination of learning models increases the classification accuracy. When we use different learning models, we can increase the accuracy of classification, which is the main idea of a technique that is called Bayesian. In Bayesian, the main idea is to average noisy and unbiased model in order to create another model with a low variance in terms of classification. Now we describe the random forest, a very brief definition. Random forest algorithm works as a large collection of the correlated decision trees. Well, the name forest is because we use a lot of decision trees. But this algorithm, random forest, it creates a lot of decision trees and use them to make a classification. That's why it's a technique based on the Bayesian technique that we presented before. So, how the random forest algorithm works? Let's see. We show here in this example a matrix S. Let's suppose this matrix S is a matrix of training samples that we will submit to the algorithm to create a classification model. In this case, FA1, FB2, FC1, these are a lot of features. For example, the FA1 is the feature A of the first sample, and we continue in all the samples up to N. So the FBN is the feature B of the nth sample. And also we have in the last column here the C1 and Cn, which means that we have lots of features and we have a training class. So the aim is to create a random forest to classify this sample set. How the algorithm works in detail? Well, we get this sample set, and from this sample set we create a lot of subsets with random values, which means that, for example, in the first subset we used the line number 12 and the line number 15 and also the line number 35 and also some other random elements here. So we get a subset of that previously shown sample set, and from this element we create a decision tree number 1. Then we make another random subset with different values. You can see that we have the sample number 2, sample number 6 and sample number 20 and many others. With these values we can create a decision tree number 2, and from this M sample we can create the decision tree number M. So this is why we call a forest, because we have lots of decision trees. And after we created all of these decision trees, I'm going to repeat that we use different samples from each of the sample sets here. We create a subset with random samples. Then with all these decision trees we have different variations of the main classification. Then we are going to use all these decision trees to create a ranking of classifiers. So in the next example here we show how we can make the class prediction. I showed 4 examples of decision trees here only to see how the class prediction will work. In this case we have 4 decision trees. Our forest is composed by 4 trees. If we have a new element to classify, we are going to ask for the first tree what is the prediction. Suppose the first tree said that the classification of this sample is class 1, and then we call to the second decision tree, it says that is the class number 3, and then the other says that is class number 1, and the other says it's class number 2. So we have 4 decision trees, independent decision trees here, which were created using subsamples of the entire sample set, and now we can account for the number of votes for each class. It's obvious that we have 1 vote here and another vote here for class 1, so we have 2 votes for class 1 and a single vote for class 2 and a single vote for class 3. So the result is going to be class 1. This random forest classified all the elements, and the class 1 was the selected class of this classification. So it's a very simple process. The difficulty here is to create a lot of decision trees, but this is the creation of decision tree belongs to the algorithm of decision tree. So this is the idea behind the random forest algorithm. Here I provide some references. The main references is this one, Random Forest, which was published in 2001, and also I used this book to create this presentation. So this is how random forest algorithm works.